Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. My name is Kara. I am a homeschool mom to two kids, ages 12 and 9. In today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about some kind of adjustments or skills that I have been working with my 12-year-old on. She just finished 6th grade and is moving into 7th grade. Now, she has ADHD, and that is something we have been kind of dealing with for a while as far as working through and trying to find things that work for her. But this right here is a book that I had purchased to work through with her next year called Learning How to Learn. It's by Barbara Oakley, and I've read a couple books by Barbara Oakley that I found really helpful. And so I thought that this would be good for her as she's in middle school and heads into high school. It's How to Succeed in School Without Spending All of Your Time Studying. It's a guide for kids and teens. So I was going through this book and I was kind of making some notes and reading through of how I want to approach this next year. And while I was doing this, she had been working through this workbook. So this is a book that we get for social studies, which is aligned to Ohio's state social studies standards. It's like not the greatest thing in the world, but I like it. And you know, there's not a lot of great things for social studies out there that are kind of all in one. So I like this, and I like that it's specific to Ohio. We get this from Gallopade Press. They do a few other states, but they don't do all of the states. So I like this. We add on things for history and stuff like that. I mean, this is not a perfect curriculum by any means, and I don't use it as a full curriculum, but this is something that I have both my kids kind of use to give them practice of reading through a selection and answering questions. And the questions and things in here are not difficult. They come right from the reading. But this was becoming a big struggle for my 12-year-old. And I couldn't figure out why. And so I tried a couple things. The first I thought is these pages are really busy. There is a lot on them. And each grade the pages get a little busier. So the first thing that I started having her do was to take a piece of paper and kind of block off part of the page, because I felt like when she was going to read, she would start to read and then she would just get a little overwhelmed because there was so much there. So that helped a little bit. But we were still struggling in that, you know, she'd get to the questions and it was like she hadn't read, and I couldn't really figure out what was going on. So that was kind of going on a good part of the last half of last year. So as I'm reading this and I'm preparing for next year, I found this section at the end of the very first chapter. And the first chapter is just kind of a lot about the author and kind of her journey to get where she got. But then I got to this last page and it says, do a picture walk. And so I read this page because I thought, what is that? That sounds interesting. And it says how the author used to go through her textbook page by page, trying to make sure that she understood all the ideas before she turned the page. But she said that was a big mistake. Instead, when you start a new chapter, go on a picture walk through it. Scan it, look briefly at all the pictures, captions, and diagrams, but also at the section headings, bold words, and summary, and even questions at the end of the chapter if the book has them. It says, this might seem crazy. You haven't even read the chapter properly yet, but you're giving your brain an idea of what's coming. It's a little like watching a preview of a movie or checking a map before you set off on a journey. You'll be surprised at how spending a minute or two glancing ahead before you read in depth will allow you to organize your thoughts. This works even if you read on an electronic device. Just bookmark the beginning of the chapter so you can easily return to it. And this last little part here is what I found most helpful. It says, it's a little like a closet. The picture walk gives you hangers where you can organize the information you're reading. Without hangers, the clothes just fall on the floor in a jumble. And I read this and it made so much sense. And I immediately was like, I'm going to try to apply it with this. And so we did. I sat down with her, and in the beginning, we're still finishing this through the summer, but I picked a page. Let's just pick any random page. I'll show you one with questions. Okay, so like this one. And so I told her, I explained the picture walk. I read that to her and I said, we're gonna go through this. First, we're gonna do a picture walk. We're gonna look at the things in bold and highlight it, and we're gonna read these questions. And then I added, as she read, for her to highlight things that she thought might answer these questions. So that's what we did. And we did it together first. We did the picture walk together out loud, and then she read out loud to me, and she highlighted as she read. And then when we got to the questions, she pretty much already had the answers highlighted, and then she just had to put them in sentence form. The kind of one of the not as helpful parts about this book that is something we've also had to work around is that they often don't give enough space to fully write the answers. And that was something that was a little frustrating. And when you finally figure out what the answer is, what you want to write, and you put it in a proper sentence, which is something else we're working on. We work the writing revolution into pretty much everything we do. To then not have enough space and feel that could get overwhelming. So we've started answering these longer ones on a separate sheet of paper, and that also helps. But that was like a total game changer. So for a week or so, I did that with her for every page. She and I did it together. And then the next week, I started having her do one or two of them on her own. Until now, she knows the steps and she can do it independently. She's putting the right answers down. She's grasping the information, because I think what was just happening before, she was so overwhelmed that she was just trying to answer the questions without reading. Now, part of this is her ADHD, and part of this is that she's 12, right? So she's at that kind of preteen age where she wants to be done. She doesn't want to take extra steps. And so that's something that we've had to battle. And I do believe that is just her being 12, where she doesn't want to do all the extra steps. She just wants to go right to the end and finish. So that's something that we have to talk about and again, frequently. But also part of it is just her ADHD and how, she would start reading up here and then start thinking about something else. And then she'd get to the end and realize she wasn't really paying attention during this. I don't know if she realized she wasn't paying attention in any of it, but that's what was happening. So this strategy has really been helping that. It's the preteenness that makes it a little difficult sometimes to implement the strategy, but the strategy itself is working, and it's just something that I have to keep up on with her. But I'm really excited to work through the rest of this book with her. She hasn't even read the first chapter in full yet. I just was working on my planning and came across this and was like, we should implement this. And I'm so glad I did. It worked so well, and it's something that we can implement in other subjects, other areas of our homeschool. So I wanted to share that with you as a help for not just if you have a child with ADHD. I think that, this book is written for all children and teens, not just those with neurodivergency. So I think this would be really good for any middle school or high school student. So I wanted to share that, but I especially wanted to tell you how we were able to apply it to help a child with ADHD. So if you have any questions, let me know down below. I'll link both of these items, and I will talk to you down in the comments.